Hello there, marvelous minions! Now, we all know that the Cenobites are the coolest part of any Hellraiser story, regardless of who or what is trying to get away from them. They're the main attraction that the viewers or readers wait for and can't get enough of since the franchise opened its gates in 1986. But within the Cenobite ranks, there's a woman who truly embodies Hellraiser's founding idea, which was that the more they mutilate, the more pleasure they get, or the victims get, or both. We're speaking of the Sculptress, a truly striking gal with knives for fingernails and infinite powers of seduction. As her name suggests, she's an artist, a molder of flesh, and she'll tear your soul apart, but she'll do so with allure, seductive smiles, and an artistic flair. She's introduced within the comics in an open-ended, many have died, many will die setting, no reservations there, and yet the story manages to show her in a caring light. It's a crazy thing to pull off amid all that body horror. In this video, we'll get to know the Sculptress in all her cutting glory and explore her story of love, which is unusual for a Cenobite and makes her stand out among the other pale and pinned residents of the labyrinth. Real quick before we go on though, if you like our content, please support us by subscribing. It's a small click for you, but it means an awful lot to us. Thank you. Let's go for a hell ride. Cenobites, a brief intro. Cenobites are the servants of Leviathan, the demon god of a hellish dimension. They're trusted with the responsibility of torturing the souls brought into Hell's Labyrinth, a sterile gray maze in a sunless world. Clive Barker, the architect behind the Hellraiser franchise, once said that he firmly believes that a story is only as good as the villain. We wholeheartedly agree. With Hellraiser, Barker created a dark world run by grim, maimed villains, the Cenobites, whose eternal job entails tearing down human souls. Barker brought his own experience with sadomasochism and his religious inspirations to design his Cenobites, making them gory, sensational, leather-bound demons. All Cenobites were once humans with wicked tendencies. They solved the Lament configuration, which appears to them as a puzzle box such as Le Marchand's box or a Carboro, promising incalculable pleasure. As all puzzles beg to be solved, so does this one, catching boys and girls in their curiosity. And it goes as expected from there. Curiosity kills the cat, but at least the cat dies knowing. Once solved, the puzzle opens the doors to a hell-like dimension where the humans go through a test of torment. By Leviathan's judgment, they're subject to gross mutilation in the transformation chamber, which takes them past the limits of their sanity. They lose their human memories during this agonizing process, which drains the blood from their bodies and refills their cut and pierced leftovers with a blue liquid, binding them to the god of flesh, hunger, and desire, aka Leviathan. When the transformation process is complete, the renewed, disfigured creatures, the Cenobites, become Hell's tool for achieving order, which basically means pulling humans into the labyrinth, hooking them up with chains, and laying never-ending torture on them. The only chance these unfortunate busters have against the Cenobites is reversing the completion of the Le Marchand puzzles, and it's a hella complicated puzzle, so odds are slim. The Hellraiser comics follow the continuity of Hellbound, the second Hellraiser film. And just like the movies, the comic storylines take a look at our dark side. While the primary characters in the books are the Cenobites, the theme primarily points a finger at us, the humans, living with our deep-seated desires and determination to not let the mask of normalcy slip, being taken away and torn down with fear, pain, and debasement. At first glance, the Cenobites appear to be the hand of evil, but if we have a closer look, we realize that they're angels to some just as much as they're demons to others. And there's one particular Cenobite who explains this dichotomy best, and that's the stunning Sculptress. Who is the Sculptress? The Sculptress is a Cenobite who's extremely focused on her work. She has a room full of decapitated bodies hanging from extended hooks and chains and a floor full of discarded guts and organs. The bloody works. It seems like she spends her whole other dimensional life in this grim nook of the labyrinth and never sleeps. Her story comes to us from one of her sufferers, or should we say one of her creations, a man who's been mutilated beyond belief and loves the Sculptress for it. He understands that the Sculptress is creating art with every cut she makes on his body, and within the unbearable pain and labor he goes through, he feels satiated. The Sculptress is blessed with a striking form that would put an earthly supermodel to shame. She has pale, bloodless skin, contrasted with her burgundy lips and eyes to match, but it's her fingers that act as the tools for her flesh artwork. She has knives for nail, the silver metal blades inset within her fingers to cut and craft whatever she pleases. To understand Sculptress, the hottest cold heathen in Leviathan's posse, we must see her through the eyes of a man she sculpted in a story titled With My Lips. With My Lips, a Sculptress Tale. Clive Barker's Hellraiser Volume 1, Issue 12, With My Lips, opens with a room of gore. It's the sculptress's workshop, strewn with defiled body parts hanging everywhere, while the floor is a sea of red waste and discarded heads and bones. The story is really slow in physically rolling out the sculptress, plenty of panels before she comes around, which adds to the mystery. The centerpiece of the bloody display the story starts with is a smiling man who's hung with arms spread out, a lower body removed, and arteries and veins dangling to the floor. How on earth is this man smiling, you must wonder? Well, for starters, he's not on Earth, but in another dimension. And then, there's also the fact that he derives great pleasure from his pain. While solving the puzzle box of lament configurations, he wished for pleasure beyond his wildest dreams. But anything he could have received by way of pleasure could never have matched the heightening of his senses with the Cenobite's torture. Of course, we're in the fictional labyrinth, where things like that aren't just possible, but expected from the fans, and we'll ride with them. Back to our hanging man. Once the delivery boy delivered him to the sculptress, she slung him up with her chains and began her work. She sliced him up and gave him terrible pain, but surprisingly, she also fulfilled his greatest desires. She called him my sweet, and he was happy as a clown with half a body. With the sharp blades on her fingers, she carefully cut out and peeled off the skin over his chest, carving a heart. It was a sign of her fondness for him. She had also used his parts to fit into all her other creations. My sweet, let's just call him that for lack of a better name, loves the sculptress desperately but could never express his feelings to her, as she had cut out his tongue before any other body part. But that wasn't his only qualm. The delivery boy, who got the sculptress her bodies and had surprisingly great wavy hair for hell, like a young Simon Baker, was my sweet's other issue. The delivery boy even dressed differently. A pretty catch, no leather or piercings, just a green t-shirt and jeans. If it wasn't for his torn out mouth and jaw, which revealed his skeletal teeth and red tissue, one would have never known he was a Cenobite. Something had been simmering between the sculptress and the delivery boy which was bothering my sweet. One day, when the delivery boy visited her with another body, they finally gave into it. The sculptress's my sweet could not have been more crestfallen as he watched the two make love over the pile of guts and red mush on the floor. My sweet became a little less enchanted by the sculptress and even wished that he could come to hate her, but he couldn't. He was too far gone. While my sweet continued to survive in hopeless hope, the sculptress remained clueless about how she had affected him. She uses the same sweet voice, almost sleep whispering, when she tells him she's nearly finished with her latest creation. She chops off one of his ring fingers and says they'll start a new flesh sculpture together soon enough. But any hope that my sweet was carrying to gain her love with that bottomless body of his was in vain. The delivery boy and his beautiful red hair kept coming back for more. One day he returned, but something was bothering him. My sweet loved seeing the guy out of sorts until he realized how he was about to bear the brunt of it all. As the delivery boy and the sculptress got close, they kissed, but the delivery boy could never do anything with that. He had no lips, and he couldn't show the sculptress how he had come to love her. He took his frustration out on one of the sculptress's works in progress, punching a hole right through its belly. My sweet was chuffed at the whole thing, but not for long. The sculptress comforted her lover, promising to fulfill his wish. She was going to rip out a mouth and stick it over the delivery boy, that thoughtful lady, and the sculptress decided that it would be my sweet's mouth. She made a clean cut from his cheekbone right across his mouth, peeling off the skin along with his lips. She took the piece and draped it over delivery boy's mouth and jaw, and it just stuck on somehow, completing his face. My sweet, whose face now resembled what the delivery boy once looked like, teeth and jaw bare, exposed tissue and all, stared on in agony, this time without any ecstasy to cover it, as the sculptress kissed the delivery boy with his lips. In the poor mutilated guy's words, this is a tragic story of desire and unbearable pain becoming the pinnacle of pleasure. How the Sculptress differs from other Cenobites. The Sculptress's unique way of administering suffering to her human bodies and souls is what makes her different. As we've seen in the case of My Sweet, her victims may even think of her as the ultimate desire or even love. She has a caring bone. To be fair, that bone is probably smaller than a baby tooth, but still, it's there. While the other Cenobites are all about harrowing punishment and torment while taunting their humans, the Sculptress does it differently. She sweet-talks her suspended men and women seductively as she has her way with them. Moreover, she seems to be genuinely smitten with the delivery boy and is pained by his pain. This is an emotional angle we don't see in your average soul-snatching Cenobite. The Sculptress also dresses unlike any other Cenobites around. While most Cenobites have dominatrix-style leather outfits with cutouts to show their unique mutilations, the Sculptress dons a gothic green off-shoulder outfit with a classic feel to it. She wears a Leviathan-shaped dangly earring in her right ear, and aside from her shaved head and knives inlaid where nails once were, she doesn't seem to have any apparent mutilations or piercings in her body from her time in the transformation chamber when first recruited. Really makes you wonder how that happened. How is the sculptress so totally devoid of any signs of torture? Did she just seduce the engineer into not messing her skin up in the transformation chamber? Marvelous verdict. Stephen King once said, "I have seen the future of horror." His name is Clive Barker, and he wasn't far off. Barker has created his own rendition of hell. It's ominous and damn near the version we all think of in our heads. While the sculptress fully belongs in this evil dimension, she is unique and makes the reader wonder. Even with her bloodless complexion and shaved head, she easily stands out in the crowd of black-leathered Senos. Her relationship with the delivery boy shows that she's quite unlike the other residents of Hell, who aren't bothered by such attachments for the most part. Aside from great artwork across the pages of Volume 1, the Hellraiser premise rests on the forbidden desires occupying the darkest corners of one's mind and the power dynamics that exist between people who come together. The sculptress is the perfect layout for Barker's designs. She's a seductress every bit as much as she is a tormentor. While the story, With My Lips, starts with desire and ends with despair, it shows the love and cruelty that our demon woman is simultaneously capable of. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the very flavor of this franchise from its first 1986 novella, Hellbound Heart, all the way to the 2022 Hellraiser film. Unfortunately, that's all we got for you guys this time, but we can't wait to hear your thoughts on the sultry sculptress in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, please smash that like button and subscribe to us if you haven't already. This is Wheezy249 signing off for now, but you can always find me on Twitch. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.